Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. My name is Mark Rouleau. As it says there on the screen, I'm the Summer Co-op Liaison is the name, or coordinator is what a lot of people will call me. So my role with the Halton District School Board right now is sort of recruiting and gathering our summer co-op students. So students that will be participating in co-op during the summer here of 2026. So tonight's little presentation here, it's just a short one or whatnot, where I'm just going to go over a few things, bring up a couple of key points and whatnot. Towards the end of it, I will have a question segment. So there should have been a tab there when you joined this stream that you can actually fill out questions, and it'll come to a forum. And I'll try and answer those live, where I'll just read a couple towards the end, and we'll sort of see how that goes and finish off. I'm hoping we'll finish off by around 8 o'clock, but we'll see how many questions come up there. Okay, we'll start the meeting here by reading the land acknowledgement. So we begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which HDSB is situated on, the ancestral treaty and title lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Michichage nations, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Michichage territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights, while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. Okay, so again, here's just a brief agenda. I won't read these all out. Like I said, the actual presentation may take 20 minutes, and then it'll be followed up by the questions. I've already had some people fielding questions. So like I said, I'll keep my screen on, and I'll just try and answer as many of those questions as I can. If I don't answer a question tonight, or if I don't have the answer tonight for some of the questions, I will reply back to you. It collects emails and whatnot, so I can reply back to whoever sent the question, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can with everyone's answers, okay? Okay, so we start off here by why enrolling in a co-op program. And again, this presentation, my focus is the summer co-op program, which is focused more for our SHSM and OYAP students. But why take a co-op, or why enroll in the co-op for these SHSM students, OYAP students? So SHSM students, it's a requirement of the SHSM program. So each SHSM student is required to complete 2 co-op credits, okay, in order to receive their red seal. For OYAP students, same thing. If a student is enrolled in an OYAP program, part of the OYAP program is that their student is required to complete 2 credits. We also offer summer co-op or our co-op program for student success candidates. So if we have a student that might just be shy a couple credits towards the end of their grade 12 year, in order to get them the ability to graduate, we can enroll them in the summer co-op for that as well. So those are kind of the 3 areas of who we reach out to. Available co-op options. I like to bring this up because a lot of the times me speaking about summer co-op, students in the SHSM and OYAP programs think that the summer co-op is the only option, and that's when they have to do it. And this isn't true. So co-op with our board is offered actually 3 different ways. So there's the regular in-school or semester co-op, which would be organized at the student's home school. This would take place either a morning co-op or an afternoon co-op. So they'll run 2 periods in the morning or 2 periods in the afternoon. So this is probably the most popular option that a lot of students end up signing up in, where they're actually taking they're completing their co-op during their regular school year. Okay. The second option listed there is a night school co-op. This has become a little bit more popular, I feel, in the last couple of years. This is a single credit co-op that's offered through Gary Allen as our continuing education school. So it's offered through them. It's run once each semester. So students can get a credit in first semester and a credit in second semester if they're going to use this as for the SHSM or the OYAP students to complete their 2 credits. The third one listed there, that's more what I'm going to speak to tonight, and that's sort of my role, like I said, within the board, is the summer school co-op. Again, it's completed through Gary Allen, our continuing education, but myself, like I said, I'm actually out in the schools doing presentations. I've been doing them for the last about month and a half. So I'm recruiting or spreading the word or building these classes during this second semester. and the actual program takes place in the summer, but we have it built and students are sort of signed up and enrolled in the program before they actually get to the summer. Summer co-op eligibility. So again, like I said, that this program, and it's going to come up in a couple of the slides, this program is not open. So summer school co-op is not open to all students. Okay, it was intentionally created for SHSM and OYAP students in mind. The reason it was created is because we were finding that a lot of the students were having a challenge completing those 2 credits that were required for their SHSM or their OYAP program. They were having difficulty fitting that into a regular timetable during the regular school year. With the students only having 4 years, there was a lot of courses that they wanted to take. So this was a way that the board was able to offer this option for our SHSM and OYAP students, that they could complete their 2 credits of co-op in the summer, providing them the opportunity to fill their timetable through their grade 11 and 12 school year with the other courses, elective courses, whatever they want to take during the regular school year. Again, on the bottom there, we do also take in the student success students. So this isn't just blocked off to those SHSM and OYAP students. Again, if a guidance counselor or an admin approaches us and says that we have a student that has a placement, has potentially a part-time job, and is looking to get these extra credits so that they can successfully graduate, then we'll take them into our program as well. Okay, summer co-op commitments. So I'm going to sort of skim through this. I won't read it in the order that it's in there. Again, repetitive. Student has to be enrolled in a SHSM, OYAP, or referred to as a student success student, so by a guidance counselor or by a principal. SHSM and OYAP students, they have to actively be registered in the program. So sometimes we'll get grade 10s that will want to join the summer co-op program, which it is allowed. They are able to join it. We don't get that many just because a lot of them aren't already enrolled in the SHSM program or the OYAP program. So that's one of the sort of key components there, is if they've registered into a SHSM or an OYAP program and that school has actually actively put them into the program, then we can accept them into the co-op program even during their grade 10 school year, so in between their grade 11 school year. Student success candidates, it talks there about how they have to have a summer job already secured, or like a placement secured. Again, these are students that we're just trying to help them find a way to obtain those last single or 2 credits that they need in order to graduate towards the end. This program, again, is not eligible for anybody who just wants to earn credits. You have to be in one of those programs or referred to by a guidance counselor or a principal at your school. The bottom point there, it says students are not permitted to register for another summer school course, only co-op. So a lot of times we'll get students who, I love it, they want to sort of achieve everything they possibly can in the summer. So they'll sign up for summer co-op, which is 2 credits, and then they'll also sign up for an online course. Immediately it will be flagged with our board. We do not allow that just because it's too many credits going on. There is a limit. There's a rule. You're only allowed to earn 2 credits during the summer school period, just simply because it puts too much on the students for them to be able to complete a full day of co-op and then also complete an online course or an in-class course, which would be impossible if they're at their placement. The top point there. So this is a big one for summer co-op. Students must be able to fulfill the co-op course time commitments. So our program, the summer co-op program, runs from June 29th to July 31st. We're not able to extend that before, and we're not allowed to extend it afterwards. So those are the time restraints, or the timeline that we have to stay between. That is the period of time that our teachers are hired for. So that's a big part of it when it comes to safety. It's me at the presentations. I make it very known to the students to hopefully go home, talk to parent and guardian saying that they're going to be, or they're interested in taking the summer co-op program, just to make sure that no vacations are booked during that July month, like during the period of this course. Because it's only 5 weeks long, essentially within there, students have 5 weeks to complete 220 hours. So it works out to them essentially being at a placement for 8-hour days. So 8 hours from Monday to Friday. So in order to get that 220 hours, which will then give you the students able to earn the 2 credits. What happens is if we miss a few days in there, we have a week off or whatnot, you start losing 20, 30, 40 hours in a work week if a student's on a holiday, which then doesn't allow us to achieve that 220 hours of learning time. Therefore, we're not able to grant the 2 credits that they need. So I try and tell students, if you know that you have a holiday booked, then the summer co-op maybe just isn't the option for you. Again, doesn't mean you can't do the in-class, doesn't mean that you can't do the night school co-op. It's just the summer one doesn't fit, okay? Summer school locations. Summer school co-op locations run at the same place that our summer school courses run, if there's any in-course or in-class summer school courses. So the 3 schools that have been selected this year are going to be used for our summer school locations. In Burlington, and this is only for co-op that we're using this one. In Burlington, they're using, it's the Robert Bateman Community Center. So it's the old Robert Bateman. There is an area within that school now that Gary Allen actually works out of, so with the HCSB. So that's our Burlington location. And again, that's just for the co-op students. They're not running other summer school courses out of there. In Oakville, we're using Garth Webb Secondary School. That's our hub for Oakville. And our north schools, Milton, we're using Elsie McGill Secondary School. So that's the school out there. These 3 schools are important, these 3 locations, because again, this is where we're going to be having the in-class days. So there's 2 in-class days that the co-op students have to attend the school. These are the schools that they would attend. The first day, June 29th, is a mandatory in-class day. So every student that's registered into the program will meet their teacher essentially and show up at the school that they're assigned to on that day. Students are assigned to a school or the school there that is closest or within the 50-kilometer radius to where their placement is. So I tell students, if you're attending an Oakville school, so if you are a student that attends Garth Webb, those students are trying to look for placements within a 50-kilometer radius of Garth Webb if they want to stay in that area. That doesn't mean that a Garth Webb student cannot attend or can apply to a placement in, let's say, Hamilton. They could apply to a placement in Hamilton as long as it's within 50-kilometer radius of Robert Bateman, the community center. That would work. I would then just use Robert Bateman as that student's home school, because that's where the teacher that's going to monitor them is going to be sort of working out of. Okay, so I try and tell students, take advantage of the fact that we have these 3 schools that are spread across the Halton region, so that students can sort of expand that zone of where they're able to look for potential placements. Okay, the rules, and these rules apply to when you're looking for an actual placement. So the number one, it has to be sector specific or related to your SHSM or OYAT program. Any of the students that are on here that have seen my presentation in the school, my explanation of this is if I had a student that was in a transportation or an auto SHSM, I have an auto background, so I always favor that one. If a student's in an automotive SHSM, they wouldn't be looking for a co-op placement at, let's say, a bakery where they're going to be doing some sort of like making cakes or something like that. There's no real way for us to tie those 2 courses together. We want to be able to tie the students' in-school experience, so what they've learned in their classes, to the actual hands-on application while they're at a placement. One of the easiest ways to find out if you're able to actually tie these 2 together, I tell students that you can easily do a search of their courses that they've selected under their SHSM course. They can go on the ontaricurriculum.ca and search up their course, and it'll tell them actually like what strands or what expectations are expected to be met during that course. By looking down that list, you can kind of track down which job or placement that you're looking at, if it has any sort of tasks or skills that relate to the course code. Okay, so that's one of the easy ways to do that. I'm more than happy to help when it comes to if a student has found a placement and they're not sure if we can tie it to their SHSM OYAP course. Reach out to me and absolutely I'll go through that and make sure before they secure that placement that we're actually able to do that. Must be a safe and appropriate learning environment. Obviously, safety is paramount. What will happen is once we have the classes built, so once we have students enrolled in the program, we will divide them into like cohorts where they'll be assigned to a teacher. Each teacher, so the co-op teacher that's going to be out visiting your child, they have to actually go out and do a pre-placement inspection before the student actually steps foot in at that placement. So that'll be happening it's supposed to happen during the month of June. So we'll actually have classes divided up where I'll be able to let the teachers know what their classes are, and they'll be out actually doing the pre-placement inspections before your child actually goes out and starts participating at their placement on June 30th. Can be outside your home area. So it says like Mrs. Agatrato, I kind of spoke about that. As long as it's within 50 kilometers of one of our summer school locations in that slide that was prior to this one. Must be outside of a home environment. So what this means is we're not looking for, sometimes people will have a home business, which is fine, but we don't want a situation where we have a student left alone, where it's just a single student at a private residence where the person's running a business and it's sort of just the two of them there. It just doesn't present itself. It doesn't work with the teacher coming to visit, and we don't like to have our students in that sort of a situation. So we stay away from the home environments. It says family members cannot be a direct supervisor. And I always try and stress to students, this doesn't mean that you can't use your family as a connection to try and find a placement. All right. I actually encourage students to talk to their family parents, guardians, and let them know what they're looking for so that the parents can actually be a network and help the students in finding a placement. Simply, if a student's going to be participating in some sort of a business where the family member works, choose another person to be their supervisor while they're at that placement, for obvious reasons. We don't want a biased opinion of how things are going if the student is being supervised by their direct family member. Distance placements. If you're stuck in, let's say this is one that comes up, is students will have they'll be at a cottage over the summer holidays. And so they want to do a co-op placement at a camp or something like that close to their cottage. Again, this ends up falling out of that 50-kilometer radius of any of our schools, like the 3 schools that we have in the Halton region. But that doesn't mean that this isn't possible. You can contact a board in that area and see if that board offers a summer co-op program. Just be aware, like the note says there, some boards, some of the northern boards especially, offer just single credit co-op courses during the summer. So your child would still then have to earn the other credit, whether it be during the school year or night school, or again, have to come back the following year and do another single credit. Okay. And the last point there, consider transportation needs. Transportation is not provided. So students have to find a way or have to have a way set up for them to get to their placements. So if they are choosing something that's outside of their immediate homeschool area, then they're going to have to try and work a deal out either with parent or guardian to make sure they have a ride every day to get there, or make sure that there's some form of public transportation that they're able to get there daily to complete their placement. Okay, the program registration. So the registration, like I said, right now I've been going around school to school doing this presentation or a similar presentation in front of the students. And what I've asked students when I'm there, the number one thing that I need from any student that's interested in participating in the program this year is I need them to complete a student communication form. So this is something that comes directly to me. This just gathers the students' names, the school that they're at, the SHSM program they're in. It gathers this information so that I'm able to see what students from what schools are interested in participating in the program. And I can actually follow them through the process of where they secure a placement, right down to when they start submitting forms like the workplace education agreement and stuff. The form, if they don't have it, I'm going to put up a QR code in a couple slides here, and I'll leave that on the screen while I'm answering questions as well. Students can scan that QR code, join the form. The form can be edited at any time. So like I said, right now the form is released. There will be questions on there about a placement. If a student doesn't have a placement, has not secured a placement yet, they can still fill out this form so that I know that they're interested, just in the areas and the fields that you don't have an answer for. So if it says placement address, and you haven't secured one yet, simply put in not applicable or a question mark, or you can type in, I don't know yet, whatever it may be, just so you can make your way through that form and click submit at the end. The first part, like I said, is more just the gathering information on who the student is, what school they go to, some parent guardian contact information in case I need to reach out, stuff like that. But that is by far the most important thing that you can do at this time, is fill out that form so that I'm aware of who actually is interested in the program. And then I'm able to sort of blast out messages or emails to those students, letting them know sort of what's going on, what step we're at. Okay. The second step that's going to come up, and this is the actual part that enrolls you in the program. A student will need to register on My Blueprint, just like they select their course. They complete course selections every year for the following year. There's a registration on My Blueprint for the summer co-op program. It's not open yet. It opens up on April 14th. Again, if a student or any students that are on my communication form and I have them on my list, I will send out a mass email to all of those students on April 14th, reminding them to go on My Blueprint and register on there. If you register on My Blueprint and then something comes up, you change your mind, whatever happens, it's okay. I'm able to remove it. So if this doesn't work for you, all of a sudden you're not able to participate this summer, we can take you off of that list. The problem is if you don't register on My Blueprint and we pass, I believe it's June 10th, I can double check that, but June 10th is the deadline where they close the applications. If a student has not registered on there by that point, and then they approach and say, I found a placement, I'm ready to do summer co-op, that's where it becomes very difficult to actually get them into the program. Okay, so again, April 14th is when that opens. That would be step number 2. Step number 3, which can actually start at any time, is students searching and securing a co-op placement. Probably the hardest part of the entire co-op program. In the brackets there, it says that it is a student's responsibility. That does not mean that I'm not here to help, as well as I know that a lot of their teachers at their school, I don't encourage you to go to them because this is supposed to be sort of my deal, but there's a lot of students that have a good rapport with their teachers and they'll help them out as well. But my job is to help the students as well if they're struggling to find a placement. That does not mean that I can place every student. That's why we write down that it is the student's responsibility. We had about 320 students in the program last year. That's all across Halton. It poses quite a challenge to try and place that many students without the students actually going out there and doing a search for themselves. The other sort of benefit of a student seeking and finding their own placement, number one, it's a great skill for them going out. It's the same way as they're going out and applying for jobs, just that they're going out with resume and cover letters and they're applying for these unpaid co-op placements throughout the community. Okay, so they get to go out there, they get to speak to people. I do encourage the students to physically go out and hand out cover letters and resumes, not to just send out a series of emails and sort of fire those out and wait for them to come back in. Our community partners, people who have accepted students, they and I've spoken with them, they respond better when the student actually comes in and they're able to put a face sort of to the student and be like, well, okay, so this is what you're looking for. They can explain what programs or their courses they've taken in school and whatnot. So it just helps out that whole process if they go out there, okay? Once you've secured a placement, so if you've gone out, you found a placement, someone's interested in taking you on for that month of July, and then you're going to fill out what's called a workplace education agreement. And what this is it's our legal document. It can be found on that communication form. It can also be found on a Google Classroom, which I'll share you an invite to that as well in the next slide or next couple slides. The workplace education agreement form, like I said, it's the legal paper. It has the information, including, again, the student's information, the placement information, the supervisor's information, who's going to be. And then at the last page, it actually has an area where all 3 parties will sign that paper. So we'll have the student sign it, a parent guardian signs it, and then the placement supervisor signs it. Okay. Again, this just lets everybody know who's involved, where the student's planning on doing their placement, if there's any sort of emergency contact numbers, all of that information is on that form. So therefore, it's a very important one. So once a student registers on My Blueprint and they're able to show me or take a picture, send a digital copy of the completed work at agreement, which means they found a placement, they've secured a placement, at that point, I will then checkmark, add them to the program, and I'll send an email saying, you're good, you're in the program. Until we have that work at agreement, though, I cannot accept a student because then it means they don't have a placement secured. Okay, and again, we can't have you doing the co-op program without being placed somewhere. So this is where the whole communication all the way through, and you can see that the deadline there is May 22nd. May 22nd is the last day that I can actually accept students into the program. So I would have to see that they've registered on My Blueprint, and I would have to have a copy or some sort of a visual of that workout agreement saying that they have in fact secured a placement and everybody has signed off that they're aware that you're going to be there during the month of July. Okay. And then the last point there, it says to check your school emails regularly. My only means of communication between myself and the students is through email. Aside from me going, like I said, I do go to the schools to do this presentation right in the beginning of the semester here. Once I have their emails, I will send out emails if I need to reach out to a student. I have done like Google Meets with students or with parents just to answer some questions or whatnot. I'm totally open for any of that, but without me knowing who wants to be in the program. So if I don't have you on that communication form, it makes it very difficult for me to sort of track students down and follow them along. Okay, so this is the site here where that QR code is. So again, student supports. I spoke to you about school visits, email, virtual meets. That QR code is for the communication form. Again, many of you, as I've come around and done my visits, have already joined or completed the communication form, and I'll have you on there. I think we're floating around 200 students right now, and they'll keep coming in over the next weeks or so. The bottom one there also is a Google Classroom. So I created the Google Classroom. The students can join that as well. Slideshows are on there. So the slideshow that I presented the schools on there, I can easily as well put this slideshow on there in case anybody saw something on here that they wanted to get something off of. I use the Google Classroom sort of more as an ability to send out a mass message where I can make an announcement to all of the students. I can announce it to 300 students and say April 14th, registration's open on my blueprint. Make sure everybody gets out there and signs up. So again, these two, the communication form and the Google Classroom, they are absolutely paramount. That's my way of communicating with students that are interested in the program. Okay, and then my email address would be the last thing, which it's plastered everywhere. It's on that Google form as well, or the communication form. It's on the Google Classroom. It's on this site here, rulo.m@hdsb. Please, I encourage you, if you have a question, email me. Bear with me that I do have to answer quite a few emails in the mornings when I get to the computer, but I will get back to you within a couple of days. I try to be adamant about replying to everybody's emails, just to answer or to help in any way that I possibly can. All right. Okay, so I am going to go back just to this slide. So I'll keep this slide up here because it has the QR code and the Google Classroom. And what I'll do is I'm going to open up, I'm not going to open it up on the screen here, but I'm going to go into the form that I have where I can answer some questions, and I'll kind of skim through it. I checked out, there were a couple questions posted even before this stream started. I'll go through, I'll see if there's any sort of real common questions that keep coming up, so I can try and answer those just out loud here for everybody here. I'll do question and then answer. If I don't get to your question, so if you did send one or you think of one after the presentation and the Google form will still be open, please send your questions into that. Again, it will collect your email and then I can get back to you right away and I can answer your questions best of my ability. Okay, so thank you for watching this. Stay on here. I am gonna, like I said, I'm gonna just close this, or I'll keep this screen up. I'm just gonna on my computer go check out the form, and I will answer whatever questions I can see that have come up here. Okay. Oh, it's gonna share all that. 1 second. Okay, 1 second, guys. I'm going to bring up, I just got to find my form in here just so I can answer these questions that have come up. Okay. One of the questions that I have here, so it says, which grade are students eligible for co-op and when should they apply to the co-op program? So again, for grades that students are eligible, students can apply. Most of our students apply they take summer co-op between their grade 11 and grade 12 school year. So during the summer in between those two grades. We do have students that are in grade 10 that have applied or can apply. Like I said, it's just a matter of they have to be registered in a SHSM or OYAP program. That's the key thing, okay? A lot of the times, like I said, the majority will be grade 11. We do get students that are in grade 12 that will still apply. The difficulty with a grade 12 student applying to summer co-op is that if they're needing these credits, so if they need those 2 credits to get into a post-secondary school, the credits will not show up on their transcript until the following year. So that's where it gets a little bit difficult with the grade 12s. If a grade 12 student is not planning on applying, or if they're planning on coming back to school for another year to get some other courses or whatnot, then we have had grade 12s that take the summer co-op program just so they can get those credits in the summer, and then it carries over to their next year. So like I said, grade 10, 11, and 12 is pretty much the answer for what grades are eligible. The next question on here I have is, will we provide transportation? So the school board does not provide transportation for students to get to their placements. That is the responsibility of the students. So again, try to make it so that your placement is either within the area of your school, like if you ride your bike or whatnot to school, or you get a drive into school, however it may be, make sure you kind of mirror that for where your placement is going to be in the summer. Also be aware of the hours that you're going to be working at your summer placement, or you're going to be attending your summer placement. With it being 8-hour days, usually students are there, like, again, it's a full-time shift. We'll have students that are there from like 8 till 5 o'clock. So make sure that if you are arranging a ride with parent or guardian, that they're able to drop you off, pick you up at those times. Okay. There's one here that says, when visiting potential placements, should we ask for the manager to give them your resume cover letter? I depending on where you're going to, sometimes the manager is not available right up at the front. We've had students, I'll use an example, let's say Canadian Tire. You may not be able to speak to the actual floor manager. You may be able to speak to whoever is there at that moment, but I always tell students to explain what they're looking for. So explain how they're in a SHSM or OYAP program. Don't just go there and say, I'm looking for a co-op. Let them know what you're doing. Explain to them what SHSM is. Some people don't know what a specialist high skills major or an OYAP program is. So go there and explain that so they have a better idea. Talk about the courses that you've taken that relate to the placement that you're applying for. Another key point that I often tell students when you're looking for these co-op placements, let them know that you're looking for an unpaid co-op. Okay. If you do secure, or if for some reason you are able to find a co-op placement that's going to pay you, that is allowed. It's just a matter, there's 2 different parts of the workout agreement that we have to fill out, if it's a paid or an unpaid. But the problem is if you go in there and you don't say that you're looking for the unpaid, some places will just assume that you're looking for essentially a part-time job. And that can sometimes, I don't want to say it scares them away, but in this economy, there's a lot of places that are not really out looking for new employees, student employees. So it kind of scares them away in that aspect. So let them know that you're looking for an unpaid co-op placement. If you can speak to a manager, again, depending on where you're applying, absolutely. I would, like students that go to pharmacies, that's a popular one. I tell them, I'm like, go to the back and ask if you can speak to the actual pharmacist and let them know exactly what you're doing. Again, a lot of the members in our community, like when you go to a lot of these places, if you talk to even students that are in the higher grades that have completed co-ops, you can actually, you'll find that a lot of the places that the students go to, they've actually had co-op students before, and they're more than willing to take on another co-op student like afterwards. So they're like, yeah, no, and they'll know what it is. They'll be aware of the whole program, and they'll say, yeah, absolutely. Like, we'd love to have you on. Can one placement host multiple students? Absolutely. We actually have we have a couple of places that take on more than one student. A lot of the computer like computer programming or computer software companies, they'll often take on more than one student. If they can take on more, the more the better. Another one that's popular for taking on multiple students would be car dealerships or any sort of like car sales place. Just because they have the ability to take on a student, like we can put students that are looking for their transportation SHSMs, so in the shop, they can work there. Students that are looking for a business placement, if they're in a business SHSM, they can go to car dealerships because there's a business aspect there. We've had students go to car dealerships to do, they work with their marketing team where they're actually taking pictures of vehicles and posting it on their streams and whatnot. So there's lots of areas like that where they'll take on more than one student. Sorry, just reading through some of these. Okay, one of them here says, can a student take an online math course while doing the summer co-op? Again, as soon as you try, the short answer, no. As soon as you try to register for both of them, it'll flag in the computer, and then what happens is we end up getting the Gary Allen crew will actually message and say, we have a student here who signed up for both. The student has to decide whether they either want to do the online course or if they want to do the co-op. They cannot do both courses through our board at the same time, because you're then earning more than the limit of 2 credits. Sorry, taking a look. Okay, one here, and this is a very popular question. What happens if you're sick and have to take a day off? Obviously, we can't predict what's going to happen during the month of July. People do get sick. It does happen. It says, will you still get the credit? Okay, I try and tell students don't plan on being sick. So if you're looking at it that way, just like we say, don't plan a vacation and then sign up for the summer co-op, because it makes it difficult. We have had students that have missed some time for illnesses, if they were sick for a day or two. I know that I've had teachers, and again, this is more a deal that has to be made with the teacher that gets assigned to you. But I've had teachers where they're like, okay, you're a couple hours short because you missed that day. Is there any way you can either pick up a couple extra hours one night or something like that? Like, so you'll stay longer at your placement. I have had students that have even been able to work a shift on a Saturday, if that's possible with the placement. The reason I say that the teacher, this has to be a deal that happens with the teacher who's supervising you, is because you would have to make an amendment to the actual workout agreement saying that you're going to be at that placement after the certain hours, or you're going to be at that placement on a Saturday, because the teacher then has to be willing to agree that they're going to be available to come visit you, or if an emergency did happen, they have to be able to come see you during those times. So you can't just on your own say, I'm going to work weekends and start putting hours in there, because a teacher there's a liability issue here where the teacher has to be able to get to you if they have to get to you if there's an emergency. Okay, so yeah, it happens. Like I said, you're not going to lose the credit. We're not here to try and take credits away, but we may have to work out a deal where it's like, okay, you got to make some of those hours back. Okay. Another one there about multiple students, which we covered that. What's this one? Sorry, guys, trying to filter through a bunch of these at the same time. Okay, sorry. Is there a limit? No, we did that. Arts and cultures. Summer. Okay, it says this one here says, for arts and cultures, SHSM, a summer camp is a great placement, but doesn't run the first week of co-op. Okay, good question. I have run into this. So if a summer camp is something that's on the table, and I understand this year also we have that a little bit of a dilemma where the July 1st holiday ends up midweek. So it's on the Wednesday. Our program starts Monday, you're in class. Tuesday, you should be at your placements. Wednesday's a holiday, and then Thursday, Friday, you should be at your placement. So a lot of the camps are actually not starting until July 6th. Okay, which, yes, this does create a problem, because then you only potentially have 4 weeks to get the hours that you need. It makes it next to impossible, because you're losing out on the 32 hours that you should have gotten the week before as well. My suggestion to those students, I had a couple today that asked me about this. My suggestion was to reach out to the camp and see if there is any sort of setup that you can do. So the week before, there may not be students, or sorry, there may not be like children or whatnot. The attendees may not be at the camp, but there might be some prep work. There might be crafts that they need to get ready, things they need to cut, paperwork that needs to be done, something like that. So my suggestion for the students was to actually reach out to the camp and say, my program runs from this date, from June 29th to July 31st. We're not allowed to extend it. You can't go beyond that, because again, we don't have a teacher to supervise you. And just let them know that. Say, like, is there anything I could be doing that week prior to prepare for the camp? And a lot of the times you'd be surprised, because a lot of them, they don't just show up on July 6th and it's like the camp's ready to go. they can sort of fill you in and get you in like their staff doing some of the prep work before the actual children come to the camp on July 6th. So that would be my workaround if you want to say it that way. If you don't do a co-op for SHSM, does it affect your final graduation? Sorry, this one says if you don't do a co-op for a SHSM, other than not getting the red seal, does it affect your final graduation? So you need the co-op to get the red seal. So you're absolutely right. If you want to, in order to complete a SHSM or an OYAP, you are required to complete 2 credits, whether it be during the school year, night school, or summer school. If you don't complete the co-op, it's asking, will that affect your final graduation? As long as you still have the credits that you need in order to graduate, you will graduate, but you will not graduate. Like, you wouldn't have that red seal. You wouldn't have the recognition that you completed a SHSM program or an OYAP program if you're in an OYAP program. So as long as you still do have the credits that are required to graduate, you're good. But again, you wouldn't get the recognition that you've completed a SHSM program, unfortunately. One here says, can you give some examples of workplaces that would qualify for business? I always say that business SHSMs are sort of like the golden ticket. Pretty much any storefront, any place that has sort of a transaction happening of like funds and services. So again, I mentioned car dealerships, pharmacies, doctor's office, if you want to go that way, like any store, like Canadian Tire is a business. So anything like that will have, in a sense, a business department as well, that a lot of the times you can get placements in there. I know students right away hear business and they think that they have to find like a chartered accountant or something like that. Not always. They're like I said, again, there's business that happens within all of these different places, like a car dealership. There's a business department in there. Apply at those places. It's a lot easier to secure a placement at that place, and you'll actually get more hands-on experience at that place than a lot of the times you would get if you apply to a bigger firm. Okay, because the bigger firm, if you do get in there, they may not be giving you the best of tasks or jobs that you're going to do in that. That's my sort of 2 cents on that one. Focus. I always tell students, a lot of the times you're focused on the job. So again, if you want to be a chartered accountant, it's like I need to go get a placement at a chartered accountant with a chartered accountant in order to do that. Look more at the skills that are completed at that placement. Okay, the different tasks that you're doing. And that's where I said, like, if you bring up your business course, look it up in the Ontario curriculum and look at like what the expectations are of that program. You'll actually see that there's a lot of different options in there, or different tasks that you could fulfill at another company, and it'll still tie back to your business courses. Okay. Can the co-op be paid? Yes, absolutely, it can be. I mean, that's a win-win if you end up finding one where you can work through the summer and also complete your 2 credits. The biggest thing with paid co-ops, make sure that you're going to be able to complete those 8 hours, 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday. So if you're trying to tie sort of a potential part-time job that you already have to your co-op, if you're only working a couple shifts a week, that won't work, because then you're not going to be able to complete those 220 hours. So like I said, again, you're looking for Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day. We want you, again, reflecting a full-time placement. Daughter, sorry, just reading these. So I got a couple questions here about student success, saying that if a student has a part-time job for student success, yeah, these are so for student success students. Again, with a referral of a guidance counselor or an admin to me, like that's what they'll do, is they'll end up filling out the same form that I shared with you. There's just a section in there where they have to have the referral of a guidance counselor or a student success teacher at the school. For that, we absolutely will work out things where if they have a part-time job, is there a way that we can get them either a single credit depending on the hours they're working, or a dual credit if they're working those full-time hours. So yes, you can tie a part-time job into summer co-op for student success students. even again, for SHSM students as well, or OEAP students, just make sure you're focusing on the hours. A lot of the times a part-time job will only give you, let's say 12 hours a week or something like that. 12 hours a week would not be enough for us to grant you 2 credits. Perhaps then you'd be aiming towards a single credit co-op where you're only looking to earn 110 hours. Okay. Sorry, a couple more popped up here. 1 second. Plan on doing a co-op this year, next year. Okay, a lot of students. I'm sorry, I'm just skimming through these. Sorry that I'm reading out loud here. A lot of students will ask me, "Do you have any suggestions of a placement for this, that, the other thing, or whatnot?" Or they'll ask me, "Can you post a list of last year's placements, all of them?" We do keep track of where, obviously, where students. I was in the program last year, so I do have a list of where students were placed last year. We don't generally just share the whole list. Not that I don't want to give you everything I possibly can. What's happened in the past is if we release an entire list, we end up getting, like I said, there were 300 plus students applying last year. We end up getting multiple students, like a lot of students, sending emails to one placement, and it overwhelms that company to the point where we've actually lost contacts, where people have said, you know what, a little bit too much. There were too many kids messaging this year. We'd rather not participate this year. So what I do is I do keep track of who I have. I do keep track of where students are placed this year. And that's where, if you filled out the form, I believe it's like I want to say it's like the 12th question in, says, I need help finding a placement, or I have secured a placement already. And you can keep changing that. Like I said, you can edit that at any point. I will filter through that list. And as we move on now, as we start getting closer to May, I will look at the list. I'll find students that it says I still need help. And I'll go down. And if I can find anything in my prior contacts that matches what students are looking for, then I reach out to the student and say, hey, perhaps try this place or this place, just so that I'm able to sort of send one student at a time to these places instead of sending 20 students attacking one place with emails looking for a placement. So I won't just post a mass list. Sometimes I do get companies reach out to me and say, like I said, the computer programming ones sometimes will reach out coming up soon, and they'll say, we're looking for 10 students to do this task or whatever, or for co-op this summer. Those ones I would post on our Google Classroom. So if you're a part of the Google Classroom, you'll see me start posting certain things like that. And that's a case where, they know, and I let them know you're probably going to get 50 emails, and then you can kind of decipher through those students, where then they do, like, some of them will do interviews actually to sort of determine who they want to take on. Okay. For camp co-op, can you extend daily hours? Okay, we get that question too. So the question essentially says, like, can you extend your hours to make up the hours? So I'm not sure if that means to make up hours in terms, like as if you were going to miss the first week, can you add those hours to the last week? My initial response is going to be that, again, we want you to be participating in the co-op from that June 29th all the way up to the July 31st. If I start saying, you can not work the first week and then do extra hours the second week, we start opening up a can of worms, where then students are like, okay, well, the program's just going to run from July 6th now to July 31st. And we are the rules that are handed down to us in terms of, like, when students have to participate and how many hours have to be provided. This all comes from the ministry. This does not come from just us making these numbers up. So, like I said, making up hours, if you were sick or something like that, totally okay with that. For the camp ones, I ask that you please approach the camp and inquire if there's any way that they can even take you on those couple days prepping or getting ready for the following week. Okay. One just came up here. Will the teacher supervisor be at a placement every day? No. Your teacher supervisor, they initially they'll come out to visit. So like I said, they'll go to your site first to do a placement inspection before you're even there. So that's one of the visits that they come to. And then they tend to visit, or what the guideline they have is they have to visit a student at least twice within the 5-week period there in person. And so what they're doing is they're coming out there, they're visiting, they're talking to your supervisor, they're talking to the student, making sure that everything's going well. They have little checklists, little questions that they go through. You do have assignments at the end of every week. There's integration assignments or reflection assignments that you're going to fill out. The teacher may come out to inquire, oh, have you finished your reflection or whatnot? But they will not come every day. They also will do phone calls. So teachers will often call a supervisor weekly or contact the student in some way to just, again, to check in. How's everything going? Is there any problems? If a student has an issue or a supervisor has an issue, they may reach out to the teacher and say, can you come in this day? But they are not there every day. Again, it's not possible. Each teacher has 18 students under their sort of roster or who they have to take care of. And like I said, they can be kind of spread out as well in terms of distance. This isn't like the regular school, like a homeschool, where it's just that area around your school. We're talking about students, like if you can be within 50 kilometers of that school radius, then you can be pretty far out there, okay? So no, they don't come every day, but they are available. Like I said, they will make themselves so that you can reach out to them at any point. And they do have to be able to, if they have a question or they want to ask something, they have to be able to come there and you're at your placement. And some of our teachers do the like surprise visits just to sort of check in, make sure everything's okay. We'll do a couple more here. Again, just trying to keep in time. We got about 9 minutes. And again, these questions can keep coming even after the presentation here is done. I will answer them as they come in. I'm not going to close this form. Sorry, 1 second. A couple more here popped up. So summer camp. Okay, there's one here talking about summer camps that involve water activities. Yes, this is sort of a tricky area. So the summer camp, obviously some summer camps take place around water, or they do have like they have canoes and whatnot. The rules for our summer co-op is that our students cannot be in the water. So they wouldn't be able to, it's not to say that you can't participate at that camp, just you wouldn't be able to participate in the water activity while you're under a co-op placement. Only reason being is there's other paperwork that has to go with when students are going to be in a body of water or in a pool or whatnot. There is a whole bunch of other papers that have to get signed. Kids have to do like a swim test. There's a whole bunch of things they have to prove before they actually can get released. So I did have this come up last year and I asked my supervisor on it, and I was instructed that no, like students, because we did have students last year even that were taking, they did their placements at, I want to say one of them was called, it was Goldfish Swim Instruction or something like that. The student was actually doing the business side of it. So they were not in the pool. So they were allowed to be at the placement. They just were not allowed to go in or around the pool. Like that, they weren't allowed to be actively like lifeguards. They can't be a lifeguard in doing this. We're not allowed to run that because of the liability issues that come along with it. If you have an individual case, obviously I can't answer this and like for everybody. Reach out to me, please. If there's something that we can bring up, I'll definitely run it by my supervisor as well, and I'll see if there's a way we can do something or what papers we have to get signed. But I do know that one came up last year, and it was kind of said no, like at a camp, you can participate at the camp, but you can't be if canoeing's part of it, you cannot be doing that while you're on your placement time, if you want to put it that way. Okay. Who do you contact if you're sick? So any sort of if you were sick during a placement, like during that month of July, you're going to be in contact with the teacher that gets assigned to you. So after I end up like sort of splitting the classes into cohorts, teachers will be assigned to those cohorts, and then I will let all the students know, like you'll get a list of who your teacher is, and the teacher will get a list of who their students are, and then that's your main contact. Now, my email still does work. Last year, I was hired on as a supervisor throughout the summer. I will apply for it again this year. So if I'm in that role this year, my email would work. And even if I'm not in that role, my email still works. So if you did have some sort of a situation, you could absolutely email me, and I would just forward your email to whatever teacher is assigned, or to the right channels that you need to sort of bring something to someone's attention. Okay. They seem to have slowed down on the questions here. So again, I think we'll probably wrap this up in a couple minutes here. If you have any questions, like I said, please, this form does not close, or my email. What I'll do here, I'm gonna close this again because I know I took down that QR code, and I'll put up that QR code for the last like 2 minutes or so, and then they're obviously going to end the stream. But take down my email address, take down the QR code, whatever you need to do to get my attention. Send me emails, ask me any of the questions that you have. Okay. Sorry, one more question came in here, and I knew this one was going to come up. So these are the ones where everyone tries to figure out, okay, if it's 8 hours working 5 weeks only adds up to 200 hours. So, okay, great question. Sorry, and I missed this part. We are able to grant, so there's a pre-placement portion to the program. We release our pre-placement assignments, so things like our WMIS certification, health and safety training. These are the things that will get covered day one when you're with your teacher on that June 29th, but we release it. It's on a Google Classroom. We release it on June 22nd, so that students, if they have time, I understand it's exam week and we want them to focus on their courses, their exams, but if they do have time, we often get kids who want to get a jump start. So they're able to sort of browse through this and start working on some of the pre-placement activities. That's where we're able to give those additional hours in order to make it so that you can get to the 220. But again, we are looking for 8-hour days, full-time hours. Okay. Okay, there's one here that says working in doctor's office, students supposed to work with doctors or administration work. Okay, again, when you're seeking out a placement, this is where it's important that you discuss with the supervisor or where you're applying what sort of tasks you're going to be accomplishing. I have had students who are in healthcare SHSMs get a placement at, let's say, a hospital, and I use this example in front of the students, and sometimes they're working at like the greeting desk, so they're not actually being exposed to much of the medical field or any of the things that they actually want to see. They're getting used for that sort of administration work. Now, that doesn't mean that every placement is going to involve you being completely immersed into all the jobs that you want. There may be some stuff where it's like, okay, we need you to file some papers for a little bit, but then you're also going to shadow, or you're going to talk with the doctor afterwards and talk about, you have to remember, like in things like medical, like doctor office, there's a lot of doctor-patient confidentiality that they can't just bring a co-op student into the room, or they can't just share everything with a co-op student. So a lot of the times that's where that restriction happens. But I do know that we've had students working in doctors' offices where they'll do a little bit of the administrative work, but then they also are provided time with the doctor where the doctor can sort of explain the process of what they were doing, so that the student does get that experience or that knowledge as to what actually takes place in there. Okay. All right. I'm going to put this thing back up here just so that people can get those QR codes. Sorry. Okay, so there's the QR code. Oh, should come up. I believe it's up there. And there's that Google Classroom login as well. So I'll leave that up there. I think we have about 1 minute left. I want to thank everybody who did come out and watch this. Thank you. I'll try and get a hold of this recording so that we can share this as well if you want to see it. But by all means, reach out to me if you have any questions. And I will keep checking that form in the following days, and I'll answer anybody's questions that come out. So thank you very much for watching this.